Hey folks, it's Ben with the Turbo 231 channel. Today we're working on our 2002 Pontiac Grand Prix. What we have is an exhaust leak, and unfortunately the day I shot this video it was really windy and it just wasn't a good day to shoot video, so we're going to try with the stills and narration over top. So bear with me, and if you like this format, let me know. But we'll start here with our Grand Prix, and as you can see, we've got it lifted up as high as I can go. So we're using ramps in the back, jack stands in the front. It's a fairly safe way for me to lift the car up and be able to crawl underneath the entire bottom of it here. Now, where we have our exhaust leak is the resonator pipe, and that's that right after the catalytic converter. There's a flange, and then there's this tube here, and it's essentially a muffler. It's used to generate a decent tone for the exhaust, and it's full of little metal baffles and such. And as you can see, it does have a flange on the front, but it is welded to the rest of the exhaust, so we're going to have to do some cutting here. This next picture shows the flange and the really rusted nuts. Now, I'll be honest with you, when I went to take these off, they actually came out on their own. Now, I did soak them with some of my favorite Napa liquid there that I think it's Rusty's or Rust Be Gone or something like that, for about 15 minutes prior to actually trying to get them off. But it actually worked out pretty well here. So before breaking those, though, I actually used the Sawzall and just cut off the back as close as I could, because I wanted to be able to save as much of the exhaust as I could. And we'll get into why in just a second here. And so you can see the picture here of, it cut. Unfortunately, I tried to cut it square, but it didn't really work out well for me. We've got some penetrant, like I said, on the front bolts here, and I just used wrenches on both sides, and I was actually able to get that nut undone. Here's a shot from the other side of the car, and you can see we're right where the O2 sensor is located as well. And I had to undo the little rubber bands that hold the exhaust up in this area here, just to get some wrench clearance and to be able to wiggle things around and stuff like that. So with the end cut off and the bolts released, the thing fell off essentially, and here's a picture of it on the ground. As you can see, the top part of it is all rusted out. And when I went to see, where's the hole in this thing, and I ran my hand down the whole top of it, and it was just leaking everywhere. And in this picture, you can kind of see inside, and that's exactly... The newer one looks a lot different than this one does. The newer one actually looks like it's a pipe in a pipe with lots of holes in it. But yeah, this one you can see is just totally trashed. You can see right into the pipe there. It made the car sound great, really loud though, and it sounded like it had a pretty bad exhaust leak. Now, the original unit there is fairly long. Now, the replacement unit I have here, I got it from Rock Auto, and I believe it was about $70. Now, you could replace this with just a straight pipe and just let the mufflers quiet the car, and that would be perfectly fine. However, I kind of wanted to keep that throaty little Grand Prix sound, so that's exactly what I did, is I kept the Resonator. The cool thing about this one is it comes with that flange, right? So all you need to do is buy a replacement gasket, and the pipe you see behind it, the one I got from Rock Auto, isn't quite long enough to replace the stock one. So you do need a little kind of extension pipe so that it'll reach the back of your exhaust system. Now, one of the issues I ran into was that in trying to fit it up there, and I think I measured it to about 33 inches, but the exhaust pipe kind of pointed upwards on the back of the car compared to the front. When I cut it off, I guess the system might have been under tension or something like that. So that was kind of weird. And then I did measure it off from the front flange to having some overlap. And I think by this picture, I'd actually recut that to be a little bit more square. But you can see it measures about 35 inches long. So I just went ahead and measured out 33 inches and figured out where I needed to cut my little extension pipe so that I could actually clamp them together. I did take a file and deburr the ends so that they would kind of go to smoothly together. And then here's a picture of what's called spider patch, which is actually kind of a exhaust joint crack sealer, and you can use it for new installs. And what it does is, I was too cheap to buy a gasket, and so what I was going to do is just make a liquid gasket with this material between my two flanges. And in this picture here, you can see I was actually able to recover the old gasket. It actually wasn't in that bad of shape, but I did smear this on both sides of it. So you can see here I'm holding the gasket on the flange. We got this stuff everywhere. And then boom, bolted it together. Now in this case, I would recommend a grade 8 bolt, just because it's gonna be temperature cycling something crazy, right? In my case, though, I happen to just have grade 5 bolts, so I put them in, and honestly, you probably want at least a 2-inch, if not 2.5. I think those are 1.5s, and they are just making it. So I might come back here before these things get too rusty and actually switch out those. And they're probably, I think they're 7/16, maybe even a 1/2 inch on size. I can't quite remember the exact dimensions on them, but when you buy your, you'll get a new flange and you can kind of, gauge it by eye what the actual size bolt that you need. Just note that bigger is better, and longer in this case is actually better as well. Now on the back end, we're dealing with exhaust clamps in this regard. So I actually left them both unconnected. That gave me a little bit of play to sneak this thing on. So we have the front end bolted on, and now we have this pipe connected. And so now we can see the exhaust clamps, one for the Resonator and the other one for the back exhaust pipe. I put the clamp part on top because I drive on a lot of gravel, and I know eventually those rocks will just destroy those threads on those nuts. So by putting on top, I'm giving myself a little bit of chance. And here's a little bit further back shot of the actual total install that you see. So we've got our new flange. We have the correct length. Everything's tightened down and sealed. So it works out pretty well here. Now, let me for now let you listen to the sound of the car. When I did the crank position sensor, I started the car. So here's a still picture with that audio, and then an audio of the car once the new pipe was on. Okay, here goes nothing. It is so much quieter. I didn't realize it was leaking that bad. Obviously quite a big difference in sound. I didn't realize that I was leaking that bad. It's to the extent where the car motor is actually hard to hear when you're inside of it, which I guess is how cars are supposed to be, but it's been so long with the holy exhaust that I had totally forgotten. So anyway, if you have any questions on this install, and you might, this is just a quick kind of walkthrough on what I had to do to get my car to quiet down. It's a little rusty, so we don't want to draw the attention of the police or anything like that by having a weird leaky exhaust, right? So if you have any questions, ask them, and if you have any comments, you can leave those too. But I'll leave you with the old school outro, and I'll see you next time.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Leave any questions or comments down below, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for awesome updates on what I'm doing. Please check out the next video I've got lined up for you, and also check out my Patreon page if you want to support what we're doing here. And finally, check out my other less tractory page, Red Barn Homestead. You can subscribe to that too, see some awesome stuff. And we'll see you next time.